Hello, my friends. Today we're talking about the art of dissolving negative energy. If we've never met before, my name is Brent. I coach people to actualize their potential, or otherwise known as walking the path of self-actualization. And as you can imagine, becoming masterful at dissolving negative energy or dissolving negativity is instrumental to this path. It's necessary to move along this path. How to properly view it, how to think about it, how to grapple with it, and ultimately how to dissolve it, integrate it, remove it from your experience, how to not suffer about it anymore. So that's what we shall get into today. And I don't have necessarily an outline for this. What I'd like to do is speak for you extemporaneously, and I want to channel it. I just want to allow the ideas to come through. I'll start by saying this, that personally, this is an area that I've well mastered. So when I make videos for you, if you happen to have been following this channel, you'll notice that I alternate between videos and subject matter that is very comfortable to me, that I know like the back of my hand, and others that are a little bit more forward-leaning and new for me. And so this would be one of these subject areas that I've mastered a long time ago. So negativity doesn't bother me. I don't even really see it. I don't view negativity and negative energy the way people conventionally do. Whether it's from within, so my own, like let's just say there's sadness or grief or anger or envy or something that comes up from inside my experience, which does happen, continues to do. It's not a problem for me. It's something that I'm able to circulate and integrate very easily and quickly. And if it comes to me from, say, the world, like say in the form of another person, offering negative energy to me of some kind or other, that is similarly not a problem for me either, because I've come to view it in the right way. There are slightly different techniques depending on whether it comes from inside or whether it comes from without. But I think a good starting place is to talk about negative energy when it comes from within, because it'll give us the basic foundation, the basic building blocks, and then we can easily take this conversation and then apply it to negativity that we get from other people. So if you are in a place where, let's just say you are receiving more drama than you want, like you, in a manner of speaking, you feel victimized by the people that you have to relate to, the people that are in your life, where they're just constantly bringing you problems. And you're like, I don't want to deal with all this bullshit all the time. I hate all these problems. Why can't we just be normal? Why can't we just get along? And it just feels like you keep being inundated with negativity. Then you should stick around. This is absolutely for you. Even though you may not consider yourself to be a victim, you may be aware. I imagine most viewers are aware of the basic idea of victim psychology and don't see themselves as victims, but nevertheless, we will get into that. So when negativity comes up from inside, let's get our definition straight so we can know what we're talking about. So negativity will just refer to when a negative emotion comes up, such as the ones that I referred to a minute ago, but it also could be, anger, rage, boredom, dissatisfaction, wanting, hankering, lack, fear, worry, anxiety, anything, from sadness to anger. Like there's a whole range of them, but basically these are emotions that you don't really like. They just don't feel really good in your body, and they're relatively disempowered emotions. They cause you to think in ways that are pessimistic, kind of cynical. They don't feel terribly inspired. They make you feel sort of closed off. They make you feel like the good times are either way behind you or way ahead of you, but they're not here. They're not accessible to you. They make you feel sort of limited about everything. You feel like a limited, sort of disconnected human being, depending on the intensity of the degree to which you feel these feelings, this negativity. And it feels like it causes your mind to feel somewhat confused, conflated, sort of conflicted, like, you're constantly going back and forth between different ideas and not knowing how to think, not knowing how to consider your situation. Also, it creates a sense of powerlessness and like you can't really trust yourself, like you can't really trust your own mind. You can't trust yourself enough to stick with something, enough to kind of break, to achieve breakthrough velocity to get into a new state of mind. And so there's just a sense of confusion and despair and being entangled and sort of enmeshed, like you're a fly caught in a spider's web. So more or less, that's what we call negativity. And negativity is usually something that is triggered. So you're just minding your own business and something happens, you get some bad news or you get a message or something you try fails and then negativity comes up. Now, a lot of us, especially you, if you're watching this, if you're kind of in the orbit of this kind of video, you've already been schooled more or less on negativity and how it works. You've probably played with the concepts of manifestation and how your thoughts and your states sort of materialize your reality. And so you're aware of that and you put in this good effort to not dwell on the negative, which is what we say culturally. And we try and we'll say things like, okay, like this negative thought comes up and maybe I'll give it a little bit of attention and send it some love. And then I move on to the next thing. Or we'll say, I'll give it some attention and some love, and then I just let it pass, and then I move on to the next thing. And so what this means is when we say something like this, when we try to get rid of negativity because we either don't want to feel it, because we're afraid of it, or maybe because we're afraid it will create bad results if we were to give it room in our experience, if we were to allow it to stay in our experience, this actually ends up setting a acrimonious relationship with it, where we actually end up giving it more power than it otherwise has. It becomes something that we're a little scared of, again, because either we're afraid to experience it directly or because we're afraid it will create bad things. And so then it incentivizes us to find a way to get rid of it as quickly as we can. And so that's what we try to do. But then as we find, any attempt that we make to get rid of negative energy tends to only enmesh us in it more. Now, to make things even more confusing is that typically when you watch a video such as this one or anything that helps you take care of and maintain your emotional state, if it's not a very good quality teaching, then that teaching will give you a technique such as one that you can use to feel good whenever you want. It'll say, whenever you want to feel good, just do this, this, or that. Do this thing with your breath or repeat the silent affirmation, and then you're going to feel good again. And 10 times out of 10, when you try something new, a new technique, it will work and it will create immediate results for you. You will always find this. But then that one technique that worked for you once, it'll only work with 90% efficacy the next time you use it, and then 80%, 70%, until the technique just doesn't work for you anymore. And it's like some sort of toy where the batteries have run out and you just keep pushing the button and nothing works. Nothing seems to make it work anymore. And then it just becomes frustrating and you're forced to throw it away until you get the next technique. So this teaching is different because the idea behind it is not to get rid of any negativity. And the idea is not to treat negativity as something that is not supposed to be there. A lot of what I'm about to share with you, I've got from the great spiritual teacher, Matt Kahn, who simply offered the idea of loving that which comes up in you. And then through loving that thing, loving the negativity that comes up in you, it can be integrated into you. So instead of something to be handled, pushed away, instead of even something to be healed, right, which sounds relatively mature, I want to heal this negativity, it becomes something to be integrated, something to be merged with, something to be unified with. The main idea behind negativity, and this brings us to the limitation of calling it negativity, is that to call it negativity is to position it as something that is fundamentally bad in some way, right? That's kind of what it means. Like imagine if we were to define the word negativity or define the word negative, you would probably end up with a definition along the lines of bad, just unwanted. We might call it wrong, something that needs to go, something that the sooner it can be gone, the better. But then it sets us up with this existential problem where this thing that we're labeling as bad, wrong, or shouldn't be here is here. And so if it is here, it means it is part of the universe. It's already real. It's already a part of reality. And so if we look at this aspect of reality and make it into something wrong, then what's interesting is that suffering is actually being generated. Look at the entire universe, or let's start with the world. Look at the entire world and look at everything that you think is wrong with it. You can point to this, that, the globe, certain people, certain groups of people, certain politicians, certain things here or there, where you look at that and say, that's wrong, that's bad, that shouldn't be there. But then as soon as you make that decision about the universe, again, which is already here and already real, there is now a sort of schism that's been created between you and this thing that you hold now in your body. And I want you to really hear this, because it's not that that thing over there is negative. It's not that that thing over there that you are against is bad. It's neutral. It just is. If anything, it's good because it's there, because it already is. But because you have made a decision that it shouldn't be this way, now you have created this fracture, this schism, and now there is suffering felt in you, and that is what negativity is. So negativity is in you. It's an internal psychological event that is created as a result of your decision about what aspects of reality are valid or invalid. Part of the idea behind the held negativity, the held self-generated suffering that's happening in you, is that on some level you believe that by suffering about something, you are actually contributing to that thing changing. On a subconscious level, there's this decision of, I'm going to suffer this way until that thing changes. And almost as if I'm suffering so that this thing will change. I'm going to feel bad about it as a way of exerting a form of pressure on that thing to change, where once it changes back to the way that I want it to, once it takes the form that I want it to take, then my suffering will stop. But then, especially as we put it this way, it becomes very clear that suffering for something doesn't actually cause anything to happen. It's almost akin to hunger striking about some sort of thing you see out in the world, but not telling anybody. And so you just get hungrier and hungrier until you die. But then nobody knows, nobody becomes aware in this particular example. Something also happens where when we become negative about some aspect of the universe, even though it's sort of a decision that we're making to be against something, along the way we forget that we're making this decision, and we fall into the idea that you are hurting and in negativity because this thing is happening. As if you are suffering as a result of that thing happening. And the only way to be free of your suffering is if that thing changes. But then if you believe that, then it puts you from a place of empowerment into disempowerment. Because now the conditions of your wellness depend on the conditions out there that are in all likelihood governed by other people and out of your particular circle of influence. And so it puts you in a place of waiting, either waiting silently or waiting loudly, or in a place where you're attempting to exert pressure on people, say in the form of yelling or cussing or protesting or doing anything that you can to get that thing over there to change, or to get those people to change something about what they're doing so that you can feel fine. If you're lucky, this will work. But this is only in a minority of the cases that you're able to do it. Usually if we're in a state where we're waiting for something to change, we're in a state of powerlessness and we're just waiting. And also, if we're lucky, we just wait long enough and then that thing changes and then we'll be okay again. But sometimes it never changes, and sometimes we're waiting forever, depending on the circumstances. Oftentimes, most times, we are just waiting. So stepping back into empowerment is learning how to consciously discover in ourselves, and this is usually buried from our unconscious, it's buried from our conscious awareness. We have to kind of look for it a little bit. But to find the way in which we are generating our own suffering so that we may choose to stop generating suffering and thus step back into empowerment and thus find our power, and then to move as a conscious agent in the world, where what we do from this place of empowerment will have just so much more torque. It'll have so much more leverage because it'll be coming from a place of inspiration as opposed to reactivity. There are hazards along the way in this process where if we've been suffering for a long time, it can be sometimes truly wretched to discover the nature of our own contribution to our suffering. And as a result, we will be a little bit resistant to a message such as this one, where we'll want to fight back a little bit and say, what do you mean telling me that I'm causing my own suffering? Clearly, I'm suffering as a result of what these people are doing over there, or these certain events that have happened. And so there needs to be a very firm intention in you, a very firm intention to discover the ways in which you are the cause of your own suffering, the generator of your own suffering. It needs to be a pristine and very honest intention. And then as a result of cultivating this intention, negativity can be resolved. So I can't emphasize enough how negativity is not something that happens to you. Negativity is a result of your relationship to what is happening. And then if you were to ask, well, what happens when I drop my negativity around a situation? Does that mean I start liking it? Does that mean I lose my motivation to change it? And this is not true. It doesn't mean that you're going to like something that you don't like. It won't mean that you'll align with something that you're basically unaligned with. But instead of reacting against something, your attention will naturally go toward that which you are creating, toward your contribution. When you ask a question such as, who am I here to serve? Who or what am I here to serve? What is there for me to build? What is there for me to do? And you can start infusing the energy of your inspiration into a new creation that will serve and make things better. And there's just so much more power in this than there is in allowing the energy of reactivity and negativity to take you over to react against something that's happening. Because remember, anything that you react against ultimately ends up powering the thing that you're against. If you feel beholden by it, if you feel disempowered by it, then you are creating a psychology that further validates that thing. It makes it into more than what it otherwise is. And when you're hypnotized in such a way where you can't possibly be okay until somebody is stopped or somebody is gotten rid of, then you are entered into a drama that will never capitulate. much like a Looney Tunes cartoon, Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Like the Wile E. Coyote never quite captures the Roadrunner, and the Roadrunner never quite gets away from the threat of the Wile E. Coyote. And then on we go forever. Because you are creating the thing that you are seeking to destroy through the hypnosis of this reactivity that you're in. If you're suffering about something, if there's negativity about something, one of the hardest things that you can possibly do, but one of the most effective things you can possibly do, is practice offering less attention to it so that it can have a chance to dissolve on its own time, so that it can wither and die, because again, it's your attention that powers it. You're giving away your own power into this person so that you can fight that person in order to get your power back from them, but this whole time you gave your power to them. Our job here is to wake up to that, to become aware of how we just take our power back. And how do you take your power back from somebody who doesn't actually have your power? Well, we do this by waking up and finding that we never successfully gave our power away. We just went into the illusion that we did. So our game here now is to wake up and for you to remember that you have the power. If you've seen Fight Club, then you'll remember the phrase, "Wait, the gun's not in your hand, it's in my hand." And he looks down and finds it in his hand. It's like that. So negativity, in addition to the thing that you feel negative about, negativity itself, like just the emotion. Let's just say envy comes up, right? And you don't want to feel envy. You know better than to feel envy. You know that it's unbecoming of a person. It's ineffective to feel envy. And nevertheless, you do. Nevertheless, envy comes up. And so now it's your problem to deal with. Anything that you do about this envy will only further establish it in your life and in your mind. So what do you do? If you feel envy and you're against it, switch up your stance so that there's now a willingness to feel envy. And the mind says, well, what if it causes me to be more envious as a result of this willingness to feel envy? Then you say, good, I would like to feel more envious. You might even say to yourself, I wonder how envious I'm able to feel right now. I wonder what is the upper limit on how much envy I'm able to experience all at once. I'm curious to try. Envy does not have any power over you. To be in envy is not to disempower yourself in any way. It's just an emotion after all. And not only that, it's just your emotion. It's just your emotional field. It's your energy, your energetic configuration. There's nothing dangerous about it. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's not going to do anything untoward toward you. The only reason you feel threatened by envy is because you've been rejecting it for so long and you've built it up into this big thing that's not allowed. And so then it feels threatening as a result of how sequestered it's been. So yeah, like when you permit yourself to feel envy, it's sort of a little bit like unleashing the dam, breaking the dam so it's all at once. But remember, envy appears in your experience as something that's other than you, right? And it makes sense because you're just sitting here and you see that envy over there in your mind and you go, oh man, here I am and here's the envy ruining my nice time. So you just let it in. The envy is already here, so you say, I'm willing to feel this envy. I'm willing to be envious. This energy is you. It's not other than you. It's not just an object over there. It's your own emotional field. It's just as much you as anything else you consider to be you. And the pain and suffering that you feel about it is this artificial line that you drew somewhere in the middle of yourself, where on one side you said, okay, this half is what I am, and this stuff is the stuff I need to get rid of. It's not what I am. It's the stuff that needs to be chopped off. But you can't get rid of yourself. And you can't get rid of aspects of yourself. It's not possible. It's the result of all of this division that has caused you to feel like you have separate aspects. In the first place, has taken the unity of you and divided it up into little pieces. These pieces aren't real. They're arbitrary. And the pathology that you feel around envy, like anywhere that you feel envy is disadvantageous to you, anywhere it's causing you problems, is not a result of the envy itself. It's the result of the way you've been sequestering it and thus empowering it by being afraid of it, as if it has power over you, causing you to further push it away, causing it to become more seemingly real as an independent reality of you. So instead, when envy appears, our desire now is to unify with it, to integrate with it, not as a technique to stop suffering, even though that is what will happen in the end. But the major shift here, this is a subtle one, and it's important for you to hear this, is that we don't love something in order to get rid of it. We don't unify with something, excuse me. We don't unify something in order to get rid of it. We unify with something because we love it. What's the reason for you loving someone? What's the benefit that you get from loving someone or loving something, loving a tree? What's the benefit? What's the purpose of it? You can sort of usefully answer these questions a little bit. Like you can usefully answer, what are the benefits of loving a tree? What are the benefits of loving a person? It's like, okay, I get this, this, and that out of it. But these questions are vaguely weird, right? They're vaguely insulting because the end purpose of love is love. It's self-justified. We love for the sake of love. Right? And this makes total sense. But now, if I tell you to love your own envy, can we carry that over? Because it's exactly the same principle at play. What's the purpose of unifying with love? Or excuse me. What's the purpose of unifying with envy? We unify with it so that we can heal it, but that's sort of a secondary benefit. We unify with envy because we love it, because it deserves to be loved. Why does it deserve to be loved? Because you deserve to be loved. You deserve love. And you deserve a little bit better than this pick and choose, I love certain aspects of myself but not others type of love. This is an inferior form of love. This is conditional love. You deserve unconditional love. Unconditional love means as you are, now. With all of your aspects, now. With everything about yourself that you dislike and are mad at and are ashamed of and are guilty of. All of your memories, all of your fears, all of your thoughts. Everything about you, your upbringing, your family, your ancestry. Your place in life, your situation, your financial situation, your career situation. The level of success you've created. As you are, all of these things, without exception, everything deserves love. What purpose is there for your existence aside from that? Is your purpose to succeed in some way? That's part of it. But a major aspect of your purpose is to find unconditional love as a human being. It's available right now. So if there's envy, envy is worthy of love. It's worthy of your love. It's worthy of your attention. It deserves to be held. It deserves not to be judged. And you deserve not to be judged for it. It's a human reaction. It comes from fear. It comes from believing that we're a small little personality and we don't want to be left behind. We don't want to have less than others because we're afraid that we will be alone or detached or, disassociated in some way. Envy is just a psychological human reaction. What could be more innocent? Imagine the envy of a young child who looks at another child that has a cool looking toy. And that child feels envied. Would you judge that kid? No? Well, then why would you judge yourself? For what reason? For what benefit would you judge yourself for feeling envy? Of course, this is just one example, but you could see how it would apply to any other form of negativity. Being a human being is hard. We have a survival mechanism, a survival response. We have this drive towards love, towards truth, towards enlightenment, towards peace, towards wholeness. And then we also have this drive to survive at the expense of others. One way of framing the entire self-actualization journey is holding enough space for your survival fears to come to a rest so that your deepest potential may unfold in this lifetime. It can't be done from a place of survival. Survival needs to be taken care of. This is the basic idea behind Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, if you're using this principle for dissolving envy, we'll stick with that example for simplicity. And let's just say you're trying to apply what I'm saying here to your envy. You're trying to love your envy and it's still not happening. Maybe you're finding it impossible to love your envy. Maybe you're finding it impossible to make it move. Well, then as a result, the problem has moved to a new tier. It's on a second tier or maybe even a third tier. When you find yourself powerless over your ability to dissolve negativity, then the only thing that there is left for you to do is surrender to it. You say out loud something like, I'm willing to feel this completely. I'm willing to feel this completely. I feel helpless over my ability to change this. I love myself completely. I don't know how to feel good, but I love myself completely. I don't know how to love myself through this, and even still I love myself completely. I feel powerless over my ability to change this. I love myself completely. Surrender means approaching some sort of threshold over which you have no power and confessing the fact that there's no power here to change this. When there's no power to change something, you're looking at this aspect of reality and nothing's fucking moving. You can't make yourself feel okay. You can't make yourself feel safe. You can't change this thing. You can't change their mind. You can't make it better. Nothing's happening. God damn it, nothing's happening. I keep trying this, I try that, I try this, I try that, nothing's happening. That's when you surrender. And in that surrender, you offer up to the cosmos, you offer up to God, your helplessness, your powerlessness. This is not disempowering. You would think it is. It's not disempowering because it's such an empowered move. It's like saying, all right, God, your turn. It's acknowledgement of that which is outside of your sphere of influence. Disempowerment, by contrast, is assuming that everything is and should be within your sphere of influence, which is not the case. If you're interested in going deeper into this conversation, help yourself to a free one-on-one coaching session. The link is below. Join the Sovereign Creators Collective, where we speak about all different aspects of self-actualization in a group coaching forum. Super cool. We have a lot of great talks. You should check it out. And there's an ebook available for free if you opt into my list. There's a link below for that too. So a final thought. That which we call negativity is really a judgment, as we were describing, but let's close here. It's a judgment. That which we call negativity is an aspect of reality that we don't want, that we feel threatened by, and as a result have given power to. We feel threatened. Anything you feel threatened by is something you've given power to. Does this make sense? If you feel threatened by it, it's because you think it has power over you. This is the hypnosis that we're all waking up out of now. And what we do is we don't get rid of, we just unify with it. And unifying with it is not some sort of silver bullet. It's not something that'll make you feel better right away. It's just a decision that you make to love the thing because it deserves to be loved. If you can arrive there, every aspect of me deserves to be loved. And I deserve to be loved as I suffer, as I go through this, as I manage my confusion about this. Then you'll find yourself waking up out of that illusion. So I'd like to return for a part 2 about how to dissolve negativity from other people. If that would be of interest to you, let me know, please, in the comments. Please hit like on the video. Love you very much. Catch you later.